Misty, you know, everybody was super excited to see you back on television, and the whole volley community is just excited to see you involved again. How did this opportunity arise for you to do the commentary for the AVP Champion Cup series?
I had been actually asked last year, not with NBC, but with Amazon, and just due to family, it's very difficult. And, you know, I'm not one, I did Dancing with the Stars. I've tried my hand, you know, any little acting things. I don't mind, I guess, putting myself out there and trying new things. I never really thought of myself as a commentator, but when I got asked, I thought it'd be fun for me since now I'm not coaching, and that I do have time and able to have, I would consider, family come down and be able to help with the kids, that I could break away for a little bit and get back out there and help the AVP. You know, that's the tour that kind of helped us get our jump start. So I wanted to be able to help and give back. And it's fun for me to be back out there again. It's fun to see the athletes. A lot of them are new, but just to be around the game in that aspect has been fun these past few weeks.
You have an experienced crew with you, guys like Dane Blanton and Chris Marlowe, right, fellow Olympic medalists, who made that transition from playing to broadcasting. You know, what have they been able to share with you the past, you know, few weeks in terms of doing the job?
I was very nervous going in. In fact, I was like, please don't screw this up. Please don't screw this up. So, but they gave great feedback. You know, I'm up there with Marlowe and Wong, and then I did stuff with Dane. And then on the other end, I was over there with Kevin Barnett and Cameron Irwin. And everyone's just been patient, and they've given me great advice. I actually got on a phone call with Karch the day before I did the first commentary for the women's finals and said, you've worked with Chris. You know, can you give me any pointers of what to look for, or how I can be good, I guess, or,
right.
You know, since it's so foreign. So he was able to give me a couple pointers, but, you know, it's like volleyball. I like to soak up information. I like to continuously learn. Hopefully I'm being myself, and that's all, you know, you can ask for. And hopefully the fans like it. I've gotten a lot of positives, so that's great. You know, and that's one of the things I miss most is the interaction with the fans and bringing that fun and enjoyment to the fans. So I guess this is my new way of doing it for now. I mean, we never know what can come of this, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying learning, seeing behind the scenes and everything that kind of goes into a broadcast. Right.
And, you know, you speak about the fans. This is a very interesting time for volleyball because the fans aren't there. How have you been able to deal with that, and how do you think the players have been able to deal with that, playing, you know, really just in front of themselves and the staff?
I thought it was going to be kind of very interesting, and I'm still trying to figure out kind of what teams you can start to figure out. I think players that need the fans there to get up, and those that maybe, I don't want to say are a little self-motivated, because I feel like all the athletes are motivated, but you can definitely feel that the fans give a little more to the sport and to the teams, you know, during long rallies and, you know, when one versus two, all that. So, but selfishly, and I said this on camera, selfishly, I kind of am appreciating the fact that there's no fans, because all those players that want to get to the professional level and learn, they're able to hear the coaches, they're able to hear how the players are communicating on the court. So for that reason, I like no fans. Plus, too, I really want to kind of dive in and figure out with the athletes how it is. I feel like it gives maybe some of the players a little more time off because there's no extra signings.
Right.
Because when you're at a normal tour stop, you'll have pieces that are all fun for us, but that can cut into your rest time. You know, you're signing at one of your sponsors' booths and whatnot. So I feel like some of the athletes are able to focus a little more.
Right, and that can help them with them preparation without, like, having to run around from, 10 to 10, and then it's like, oh, we got an hour and the next match starts.
Right, but, the fans are what create the game. The fans create the atmosphere. And AVP is doing a good job of that. It's for what they're able to do. but I want all the fans to know that they are as much part of the AVP as the players are, and they create that atmosphere, and it is missed.
Yeah, here in New York City, right, it's like an event that we look forward to, the last few years, and it's really excited for the community to come out and see everybody, literally up close, and we hope that we can get back to that sooner than later. What's that also been like with, like, the protocols and having to go through testing and the cleaning? Can you explain from, again, being up close to that, what that experience has been like? Because I'm sure that's unlike anything, you've had to do before.
Right. This is the first time I've gotten tested, and we get tested weekly. And, thus far, everybody's negative, which is great. That means everybody's doing their job, doing their part, and really taking this seriously. But I feel as a whole community and world, we're so used to doing the little things now that it doesn't seem as far out of the norm. Washing your hands, sanitizing. I think it's interesting. I don't know. You've watched, but instead of the ball shaggers then giving the ball back to the players, there's a ball rack, which I think is very creative. And, the balls are sanitized. And so the AVP is taking it very seriously, which, again, all the players are doing a great job, too, just because of the test results. But to me, nothing kind of feels out of the norm, if you will.
Right, because like you said, there's all these little adjustments that we've had to make in recent time.
Right.
What do you feel like you've been able to add as, someone who's had such success at the highest level of game? What have you feel like you've been able to add to the broadcast booth by bringing that wealth of experience with you to commentating the matches thus far?
I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. They like how my insight into the game, and as a player, what did it feel like getting served all the time, or just personal experiences. Also, too, because I'm a student of the game and I love seeing it, I'll watch the game as a whole, where some players, some fans might just watch the outcome, or they watch the volleyball, but they're not really looking at anyone's footwork or how their hands contacting the ball to make it a certain way. So I feel like I'm able to add the little intricate technical parts as far as that. And two, just from my personal experience, playing against some of these players, what I would do. I think people like kind of diving into the mind of athletes. Like, what would you do? So.
Right, and that's been good. Are there any players that have either stood out or really impressed you during these past 2 weeks of play?
I think the level has been all high because you're getting into 18 tournaments, so there kind of is no wiggle room for error. April and Alex certainly are the one team if they can just kind of stay consistent. The Canadians, this is my first time actually seeing them in person, so it's nice. The younger players, you got Sponso and Clays who are good, who are physical. In my mind, I feel once they get the basics down, they're going to be that much better. I feel they are tripping themselves up with trying to do too much.
Are you able to go a little deeper than that? Because, like, people, from the outside would look at it, but like, oh, look, Sarah could do some impressive things, and so can Kelly. And then you're like, they're trying to do too much.
I just don't think, I think offensively, they don't need to be, just from a player's point of view, get the basics down first, learn the basics, defense, be consistent at that before you start throwing in different offenses. And,
right.
Because you always need a foundation to back up on. And I feel when you get in those tight spots, they can't back down. They've kind of lost themselves in trying to be too tricky or outsmart the other team. It's like, yeah, you want to outsmart the other team, but you need to be able to do that from your foundation and just by having the basic skills and the basic concepts down. And that's it. And I think they would really be a team to contend with. Sarah Hughes is in a tough spot because she's just bouncing, she doesn't have a partner, but she's found her way with Brandy. I do think there's definitely stuff Sarah needs to work on as far as developing her overall game and offensively court awareness. But everybody's taller. That's the one thing I'm noticing. I was the short one. everybody thinks I'm tall, and I'm only 5'8.5", 5'9" with shoes on. So I was a short one on the court. I'm getting served all the time. Everyone was 6 foot plus. Well, it seems like now everybody's like 6'2" plus, you know?
Right.
Everyone's getting taller, and but they're all athletic, which makes it fun.
And do you attribute any of that change because the game has picked up prominence at the younger levels, whether, you know, the emergence of like club and college beach volleyball?
I mean, I think the game's becoming more popular anyways, and I would like to think Carrie and I had a hand at that.
Yes.
But even indoor, the kids these days are getting taller.
Mm.
So you coach 12-year-olds and they're looking at you eye to eye, you know? So it's just everybody's growing indoor, beach. But I think a lot of the younger kids, because there's so many tournaments and so many avenues for them, they're experiencing the beach game and having a lot of fun with it. Yeah,
they definitely are. Even here in New York, it's really starting to grow and take off. You mentioned also on air about like the longevity issue. You know, you pointed to players even like Lauren Fendrick and, you know, in April. And if you look on the men's side, you know, you have Casey and Gibb and Lucena and, Dalhouser, right? They're all in their late 30s, early 40s, Johnny Hyden, and they're still like at the top of their game. You discussed this a little bit on air, but what do you think has helped that push as compared to other sports where you don't see players in those ages being still the dominant players in their sport as a whole?
Well, I mean, definitely if you're an indoor player, I always play indoor as long as you can. The beach will always be there. Because your body can only withstand that hard wood for so long.
Sure.
You know, knees start to break down and backs. But two, I think the longevity with the training, I mean, it's a softer surface to train on, but also two, having a smaller team, you have more say. And I know for me, heading into London, I had to take some recovery days, you know, whereas a large team, or if you're part of a national team, you don't get that time off because somebody's going to slide and take your spot, or you don't have that say like, hey, coach, I need to take this day off. Whereas if it's two of you, you can communicate and lessen the load and be able to come up with a game plan where you have, I think, a longer off season, or your training regimen can be completely different.
Right. Yeah. You can, it's managed in different ways. And, you know, almost like what the NBA does where, you know, what they call like load management, right? So you're saying that's easier done in doubles as opposed to a sixes team where, like you said, there's people who just can slide right in, you know, and take your spot.
Right. And I think so, because even if there was a day off I needed with, you know, let's say I needed a day off and I was like, Carrie, like I can't go today and I just need a day of recovery. She could go with our coach by herself, or, you know, and I'm not saying that happened, but there's more flexibility there to be able to listen to your body and, you know, what each person specifically needs. But then too, training's changed over the years as well. You know, even from when my dad played in the 60s, the equipment's changed, training's changed, and it's allowed, you know, players to have a longer play life.
Right. The nutrition and the weight training and all the other things, you know, that that go along with it. You're right. All that has definitely changed. So what are you looking forward to as they enter the final week of the Champions Cup?
I mean, I feel like the top two teams have kind of locked in their positions for I think there's a bonus pool, you know. What I'm looking forward to on the men's side, I'm really loving seeing those smiles again, and just that passion and I've said this several times, from Nick and Phil. It's fun, you know, because they were, you know, we played on tour together, and it's fun to see them, you know, find that joy again. April and Alex, I know they're working on some things offensively, so we'll have to see what they bring. I think at this point, I've told all the teams, you go in not expecting anything, just to have fun, because you don't know when the next time you're going to compete is. You know, I don't want to say don't take it seriously, because, hey, a paycheck's a paycheck and that, but at the same time, you know, have fun and be relaxed. But I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what teams come through the qualifier, because every week, that's kind of the interesting thing about this format, is each week somebody new is coming out of the qualifier.
Right, and this is like a tough qualifier, right? It's so condensed that, you know, there's not a weak team in the qualifier per se.
Right.
And it seems
so that makes it fun. And I know Alex and April were pushed by a girl that was on the team at USC when I was there, and they were a new team out of the qualifier. So it's fun to see just new faces.
Definitely. Do you have any hopes of doing like more broadcasting, or, you know, even possibly like the Olympics, if, you know, we can get there in 2021?
I know. It was funny because every time I show up, I'm like, well, they haven't told me to walk the plank yet, so I'm good, I guess. So every time I leave the broadcast booth, I have fingers crossed, like, oh, I hope I get to come back again, because I'm having fun with it. And again, it's fun for me to be able to have a voice and help out the sport, but also it's a sport that I love, and I'm living vicariously through these athletes.